would you say then, if you're like the average, you're listening to this podcast and you're really trying to make smart supplement decisions, that it may be as simple, and I know there's a lot, I want to simplify the healing process, and I know that's a very difficult thing to do. But if I know I've been on rounds of antibiotics, if I know I've been on birth control for decades, if I bloat every time I eat vegetables and I don't have a bowel movement every day, I have like some real clear signs that my digestion is off, then maybe the door in, no pun intended, for me with supplements would be a suppository, or maybe it would be an IV. Like, can people make an educated decision just by looking at their history of what might have happened in their microbiome to decide that?
Yeah, absolutely. And also part of that is, it's like this vicious cycle. And so if you can get a really quality nutrients into your system easily, then it can kind of help cut that cycle. And then it makes healing even easier to all of those symptoms that you just described. And when you do a suppository rectally or vaginally, like that mucosa, that skin, it's skin on the inside of our bodies, that mucosa absorbs nutrients exquisitely.
Yes.
And that's really the truth of any orifice. It just tends to absorb. It's like a transdermal absorption, and it absorbs very well. And almost always, if it's something that will dissolve, it's actually better absorbed than something taken orally. Right now, some things need...
So oral would be your last choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, again, really depending on the situation, I don't want to overgeneralize, but
I've really come to that conclusion too. And I've been taking like supplements since I was a kid. When I in my house growing up, so we had electricity. I love that you didn't have electricity, but I was also raised by a health freak, and who didn't bring any sugar into the house. We didn't have any plastics. Like my mom was like a warrior there. And every morning we would get to the breakfast table, and there was a customized pack of supplements at each one of our spots at the table. And so I was just part of supplements were just what I took my whole life. And I've come to a place now where I am, and I'm like, I prefer a suppository, I prefer a spray, or I prefer an IV. I still take the other supplements, but I feel the most immediate difference with those things, and they're easier to do than to remember to keep taking supplements all day.
Yeah, agreed. And, there is some patient education. Some people don't want to do it those ways, right? And so there's like, okay, there is some education that needs to be had around that, but I think it's a huge opportunity for people to really get what they need to the source, or the source to where they need it.
Yeah. With IVs, we see this huge IV culture. Like, I feel like we've gone from really resisting IVs, or you only could get an IV if you went to a doctor like you. And now we have franchises, all over the country. Here in America, we have a worldwide audience. And I mean, even in Europe, it's easy to get IVs. Like, it is so easy to get an IV. So one of my questions is what do we need to know about IVs? When I look at an IV, I see a plastic bag, and I wonder, is there plastic in that? I also wonder, when you're forcing that many nutrients into your body that quickly, can your body absorb it? Like, literally, when I go and get an IV outside of your guys' place, if I go get them other places, I'm like, give me the kitchen sink, like put everything in it. And then there's this little voice in the back of my head that's like, but wait, can the innate intelligence of the body handle all this that you're shoving in? So what are some things we need to know about IVs so we can make smart choices?
Yeah, I think it's a, for a while, we do a lot of cool different sort of IVs in our office. Yeah, so I would not shut down our IVs, but our IV room. But for a while, I kind of considered, like, am I doing people a service? Am I giving them expensive urine?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Like, that was a huge question of mine. And yet so first of all, a lot of places do offer just watered down IVs. Like, it's mostly just water with like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, because ingredients cost a lot. And so most franchise IV places really are just watered down. Now, there's still I'm not like bad mouthing. There's still a place for that. But you do want to go somewhere where they like are going to put enough in, because when somebody is sick, acutely sick, like getting large doses turns people around. I mean, you have somebody, who is going through something that looks like the flu or COVID or whatever kind of infectious disease you want to call it. You can come in, get an IV, and they walk out feeling so much better. Well, that says something. And I mean, this is not like a placebo effect. Sometimes it's a placebo effect, but you can tell like people are coming in like that and they walk out feeling better. Or we'll have people go through like a series of ozone who are just having these chronic autoimmune flare-ups. And it's like they walk out and they do better. Their biomarkers, their blood tests are better. And so it's like we know for a fact that these IVs are doing something and that there is a place. One thing I wish people knew more about doing IVs like pre-surgery and post-surgery. Like that's a huge, that's one of those areas where I wish all surgery centers would just give patients like IVs afterwards. So all of our patients at Oasis Family Medicine, like I'm encouraging them to do 1 or 2 before surgery just to like plump themselves up. Even if they're peeing out the excess, it's like at least fill up those holes, those deficiencies.
So smart.
Because it's going to make that surgery, which is a trauma, a physical trauma, even though it's maybe necessary at times, it's still a physical trauma. And so if we can like get that body ready to able to better handle that trauma, great. And then after they've had the trauma, like when our bodies are under stress, we use up nutrients a lot quicker. We use up our magnesium quicker. We use up our B vitamins quicker. And so it's after this surgery where people really do they heal so much better if they do maybe say 3 IVs. I mean, it could be more, maybe it's less depending on the severity of the surgery. But people who do IVs, who have come into our office and do a series of IVs after a surgery, they come back and their surgeons always say, oh, wow, you're healing really quickly. Again, that tells you something. Like it's not just expensive urine.
Right. Is there just a general for post-surgery and pre-surgery? You just like get everything, all the minerals, all the vitamins.
It's kind of the kitchen sink. I mean, the minerals and the vitamins, right?
Yeah.
Kitchen sink.
Yeah.
Because there's not time to like test, get the objective data, right? And just put in the ones that are needed, right?
Yeah.
We want to that's a time to throw the kitchen sink at someone.
Yeah. There was something you said that made me, I think this is a really interesting point. When we take, whether it's a capsule, a suppository, an IV, I always tell people, you should notice a difference when you take a supplement. If you don't notice a difference, like more energy, even if it's a negative thing, you should notice something that indicates to you just took that supplement. And if you don't, there's a large chance that you might not need that supplement, whether it's an IV or a capsule. So would you agree with that?
Almost always, like as a categorical statement, I would absolutely agree with that, because in so many patients, they want a protocol, right? Tell me the protocol. Just tell me the protocol. And I'm like, try this and see. And take note. Become aware.
Yes.
Like your body will tell you.
Yeah, like check it. Like you would bring up a really good point. Like I think that's left over from the medication world. Think about what happens when you walk into a doctor's office and they say, you have X, Y, and Z. And you go, great, you know what I have, what should I do? And they say, here's the medication you should take. And so we just take the prescription, we take the medication, but we've outsourced the healing process to the doctor and to the medication. So we have no internal guidance to tell us, if that was the right thing for us. We just cross our fingers that our symptoms go away. But what you're saying is take it and then check in.
Yeah, and you touch on a huge thing there that you just mentioned. It's like, do what the doctor says. The doctor is God type of mentality. And, I'm a doctor. I went through a lot of schooling. I've done a lot of conferences, paid a lot of money to go to these conferences and to learn. And I know a lot, but my job is to be a teacher and to help someone weigh the pros and the cons. And honestly, like I feel like I think of myself more as a healer. And with that, I think comes with hopefully teaching the person to become their own healer.
Yeah.
And that awareness is everything. The more we can get people to become aware of that supplement, or aware before they take a bite of food, or aware before they go to sleep, or that first thought when they wake up is actual awareness. I mean, our healing potential is exquisite.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.